I'm trying to touch the States this time. 2021. Gotta show him I can still rap though.
Now I'm in the game, I was on the bench. First I was renting, now I'm collecting rent. Run it up. First it with the Beamer, now I want the Benz. Spending all the bag like here I go again. Outside says chirp, now the camera phone. Told you I'ma keep the channels on. Why you acting different when the camera's on? Why you acting different like your paper long? 8 day wake up and I thank God. Bad decision got you wishing you could say nah. My city gritty, you could get hit any day now. On my mama, I'ma move my family way out. With some 20s, 50s, hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, zillions. I'm talking Amazon money, talking so much money I could mess around and buy Amazon. I been winning, I'm like, why me? I heard these labels wanna buy me. I don't need you, boo, I style me. I roll G's and they grind me. Now I'm on my game, nothing is the same. Who am I to blame? Money made me change. Cardi in my ring when I'm switching lanes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Money in the carry on them Boeing planes. Now I got $1 for all those rainy days. Ain't have a day off in like 80 days. I got hustles in like 80 ways. Kids if he won't take a lazy day. Wifey on me told me take a break. I keep going to the paper street. Then it's trips out to Montego Bay. If I take the job, bet I get it done. I said it before, I'm a one-on-one. I just caught some ones, only wearing ones. Fornicate the funds, money made me calm. Diamonds on your neck, bet they on your neck. You want that watch, you better rock a tech. You want that chain, you better cop a vest. You want the check, but can you make it stretch?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Intel and Lenovo presents Rise of Legion Apex Legends Tournament. My name is Crips. With me is Ultimate Noob, and we're gonna be your casters for the day. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for the games today. We got 3 games coming up. Excited to see the teams that are going to be joining our 15 teams in the semis day after tomorrow, and excited to see what teams that we can potentially look forward to in the next coming days.
Yeah. So let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, there's gonna be a total of 3 qualifiers for this tournament. The first qualifier you're gonna be seeing is happening today. There will be 20 teams playing, and out of those teams, only top 5 will go on to the next stage. So that's qualifier number 1. Tomorrow, we're going to be having qualifiers number 2 and 3. Each qualifier will have a total of 3 maps. Now, from each qualifier, 5 teams will go ahead. That's a total of 15 teams, and they will be meeting 15 other invited teams in the group stages, where these 30 teams in total will be playing against each other in groups. And out of that, 20 teams will qualify for the grand finals, which is happening on 22nd onwards. And that's how we get to the top of Asia's best Apex Legends teams. But it all starts here in Qualifier 1 today.
Well, it's actually the first time this has ever happened on an Indian Apex esports scene, where we have 15 teams that have been invited, and we have given an opportunity for 5 of the best teams from the South Asia region to move up and be there in the big leagues with some of the best teams in APAC South. So like for example, we have teams like the ALGS winners, the best team in the world right now, Reignite. We have X10 Crit with one of the best caustics in the game, Sama. We have a fan favorite, BRP. We have EXO, who's going to LAN as well for the first time. We have a lot of exciting talent that's going to be on display in the next few days, and it's going to be a very exciting qualifier. So we can look out for who we might see as maybe an underdog story coming up over the finals, and it's going to be quite exciting because. Like I said before, this has never been done on an Indian scene, so this is giving an opportunity to budding talent. So we can be on the lookout for who we can potentially see in ALGS tournaments coming up in the future.
Yeah, hopefully one day we'll get to see all of these people. And it all starts here today in the South Asian qualifier. Now, the teams from India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka will be participating here today. And out of these teams, 5 teams will move ahead, like I said. And you already mentioned some of the fan favorite teams that have been invited, like Reignite and EXO. Now, those guys are all the big names, but just to give you a full gist of all the teams that have been invited, let me just recite this entire list for you. So, of course, at the top, we have Team Reignite, probably one of the best teams in the world right now, if not just Asia. Team Burger, Revenant, we have Dewa United as well, EXO Clan, NXL WolfPack. We also have Team X10 Crit, DNZ, Inside the Ring. We have BRP as well as Esports Club. And last but not the least, DreamFire, SNG, and Emmanuel. All these teams, bloody amazing. And when all these teams are facing some of the raw talent that has just emerged, that has just sprouted and has been unearthed, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that these budding talents actually have a chance against these top tier invited teams? Do you think they can give them a run for their money?
I think it comes down to experience and mostly their knowledge. So basically, these invited teams, have been competing at the top level for the last 2 years consistently in ALGS.
Yeah.
These aren't teams that have like just popped up over the last year. Like the majority of them have been mainstays on an ALGS stage. So it'll be a huge learning experience for Indian talent and Sri Lankan and a Bangladeshi talent that moves on to this final, so they can get a taste of what an ALGS final actually feels like. Because honestly speaking, like from our region, there's been like just a few teams, like a handful of teams that have qualified for like say a pro league or an ALGS finals. So that lack of experience it's going to come into play quite a lot. But tournaments like this can change it, and also we can also expect a huge underdog story, because who doesn't like one, right?
Of course, everybody loves underdog stories, but you know what I like more? I kind of want to know a little bit about your story. You did mention that some of these teams might have had a little taste of what it feels like to be in a pro ALGS lobby. And if I'm not wrong, you've been in one of those experienced lobbies too. What did you feel like?
Honestly, I was so nervous I didn't sleep the last night.
I,
So
I I don't blame you. I would be too.
yeah, it was quite an experience. This was like around last a year ago. So I was playing with
Hmm.
Fat Monster, who you'll be seeing on the main stage with Revenant Esports. He'll be playing with Belkan. So
Hmm.
Fat's done pretty well when he took his team to Stockholm last month. So a lot of the Indian fans will be definitely looking forward to seeing him compete over the next few days. He's definitely an exciting controller player to look at personally. I've played with him for like around 2 to 3 years now, and he's an extremely nice guy as well.
All right, all right. And once you guys get into lobbies like these, what is the prime objective that you need to keep in mind? What do you think is the best strategy or the best meta for them to keep surviving in a difficult lobby like this?
Well, it usually metas vary from team to team, and it usually it's based off an IGL and how the IGL wants to play. So,
Hmm.
and it also depends on how in sync the team is with their IGL, and the comps usually can vary. So, like for example, in NA, we've been seeing a rise of a Seer, Watson, and Valkyrie comp, which has not been used that
Hmm.
much over
Exactly.
the last few years, but it's very effective for teams who want to play a more defensive style of play.
Hmm.
The average comp that you're going to see in APAC South would normally be Caustic, Gibraltar, and Valkyrie. That is the most common comp that you're going to see mainly on the World's Edge scene. When it comes to Stormpoint, you're definitely going to see comps being changed around quite a lot. But hoping in the qualifiers we get to see some exciting new comps. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of teams that have been experimenting with Watson mainly. She's been
Mm.
quite strong with the latest updates to come out, and she's been like a mainstay. Usually she replaces Gibraltar sometimes. Sometimes she
Hmm.
replaces Caustic, and
Mm.
it really depends on how a team wants to play. Sometimes when a team plays aggressive, you would want to play edge more, which means you'd get the bulk of the fighting. And teams that usually want to play a bit more defensive and play for endgame,
They
uh,
play
they,
the center,
yeah,
right? Just
they
set
play
up camp
zone.
and yeah.
They won't exactly camp, so teams would usually want to occupy space and dominate the space that they are in. If you want to take control of that end zone, of that power
Hmm.
point and end zone, right? So it all depends on how these IGLs want to position their team, and the way they're set up is going to be extremely important.
Hmm. I'm actually glad to see that Watson is getting a little bit of love in the scene because before this, Gibby was a staple pick for almost everybody. It got kind of boring, right? Because at the end of the game, towards those later circles, the team that wins is the team that is able to conserve their Gibby bubble for the longest time, and that basically turned into the win condition for a lot of these teams, except for some of those caustic players who just want to toss their Nox grass grenade into the into the end circle and grief the hell
Right.
out of everybody. Yeah, but then Watson stepping into the scene and while a Valkyrie also has been a staple pick, it's been a while since I've seen somebody pick something as bold as the Seer. So that definitely surprised me. Watson, to some extent, I guess you can at least control the zone a little bit, maybe force some teams to go around the other sides, push them into uncomfortable positions. I guess that's why Watson makes sense. But then Seer, that character, at least personally for me, doesn't seem all that threatening. But yeah, then again, I can understand the charm of a Seer, right? In the last circle, you put down your heart in a location where it can't be destroyed and you have info on every single team, so that
Right.
also has been great. But then again, there's so many scanners available now. The era of the Bloodhound, it's being questioned. Seer, is it
Definitely
viable?
coming to an end.
Yeah,
Seer has taken
crypto.
over Bloodhound in comp for sure.
Yeah, but tell me something. Do you still believe that crypto is viable despite the buffs, despite the added quality of life changes to it? People still don't pick him all that much. Do you think we'll get to see a crypto or two today?
On a competitive aspect, I think crypto is viable to some extent. We've seen a lot of crypto exposure, especially from the APAC North side, so like the
Mm-hmm.
Japanese and the Korean teams
Mm-hmm.
over LAN. So a comp that you would see over LAN from these APAC North teams would usually be a Valkyrie, a crypto, and a Watson. Or a
Mm-hmm.
crypto and a Gibby. So like how a crypto works in the competitive aspect is it usually negates your Watsons and your Gibbys. So it's a direct counter to them usually. For end zone especially comes in hand quite a lot, especially in giving you an upper hand in your 3v3s with that instant -50 that it gets from its EMP on everyone's shields. So and especially crypto comes in handy quite a lot when it comes to getting safe beacon scans. So if you ever want to get safe zone information on where you have to
Oh yeah,
locate your
that's
mechs,
great. Yeah.
crypto's kit is extremely helpful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you go ahead, scan the beacons scot-free without any danger, and you guys will always have the insider information, so you know where to move. You can position yourselves accordingly and just try to hold the fort over there, keep everyone aside from you. that also seems like a viable strategy. But tell me something. Now, this is a little bit of a personal question. Okay, I'm going off meta over here. Which off meta character do you think can make an appearance today?
I think we look out for three characters. I think we look out for Loba, which gives you a major loot advantage, which means
I wouldn't even call her off meta. Plenty of teams have been showing Loba a lot of love because it's been so frustrating to fight in the last few circles when you literally have no ammo and you just like,
right.
you can see your enemies, you have lines of sight on them, but you just can't shoot because you have like 40 bullets in the chamber and like 20 in spares on some stuff like that. So yeah, that becomes a little annoying. So Loba becomes a little bit of a staple. I wouldn't call her off meta. What else?
Another
Something
one you
wackier.
could possibly see is a Fuse. Fuse is
Lovely.
Fuse is extremely fun to play. If you're playing like as a casual in a pub, Fuse is very fun.
Oh, of course.
It even has its benefits in rank because of the extra utility that you can carry as Fuse.
Yeah.
And the fact that both of his abilities are, their damage output abilities, like especially with his Q, with the knuckle cluster and
the mother load, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that his mother load can give you a scan on a building when it's placed properly.
Oh yeah, that's like
give you input
a budget
teams.
scanner.
That helps out quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even though the Fuse's scan has been always there, people don't always think of him as a scanner, right? You just always look at Fuse as the one guy who just keeps annoying the shit out of enemy teams and just hope to burn their shields away and make them run out of meds. That's what the idea of a Fuse usually has been up until now. But using him as a scanner, just force all the ultimate accelerants down his throat and make sure he gets his mother load off every time. Craft off a purple bag if it's available in the replicator and place it to him, put it on his back, and he's gonna carry all the nades for you, do all the dirty work for you.
Right, and that's just the beauty about these sort of say gimmicky characters.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Like say like a Fuse, right? Because it all comes down to the person who's playing it and how much that person can actually exploit that character. Because that's what usually separates some of the best players from the rest. Is like it's like the amount they can get out of their character that they're using.
Yeah.
Right. It's
The
like
value
how much
that they
they can exploit it. Exactly. Right. Like another pick that we won't don't be surprised if you see this quite a lot with aggressive teams, especially in these tournaments, is Horizon. Horizon is one of the best legends for fighting comms. Especially, we have seen Horizon being used on a competitive level quite a bit. So ever since her last nerf came in, it reduced, but then they buffed her up a bit, and she's been super strong, especially on Stormpoint. This split, she's definitely been one of the most annoying legends to face by far. So with the teams that are going for high kill points, you might see Horizon come out quite a bit to give them the upper hand in their 3v3s.
Yeah. I mean, sure, on Stormpoint, Horizon makes sense, right? You don't get stuck on those gravity cannons. Otherwise, those gravity cannons are almost always at that trap. You just and I've been on the receiving end of these grief little camps so many times, right? You place your Watson fences over there, and you don't see them coming. But as soon as you're landing, and ta-da, there's a bunch of wires ready, and you're just like there. Unless you manage to land on the flap and slide off, you're basically heading towards that.
Right, that's one of the reasons why most of the pro teams, they usually refrain from using gravity cannons in ALGS tournaments.
Yeah,
it's because you don't know what's on the other side of that. So
exactly. Yeah,
unless you're rotating super late and you're rotating through zone.
And unless there's no choice. Yeah.
Like unless it's your last ultimatum, that's like usually when you would use it. But when it's in a super serious lobby and then you don't want to take any risks, usually teams would opt out of taking that gravity cannon because it can be risky from time to time.
Yeah, it can be risky. Not only do you not know what's on the other side, plus you end up giving away your information, right? There's a massive boom whenever you take it. So the whole lobby, or if not the whole lobby, everyone around you, and in lobbies like these, teams do tend to flock towards where the ring goes quite early on, especially almost everyone tries to get off a ring scan quickly. So there are going to be plenty of people around you to hear that stuff.
Right, and since we're in the qualifiers today, I think we're bound to see much more aggressive plays compared to passive plays in qualifiers. That's usually how it goes in these tournaments. And we're going into our first game here on World's Edge, so let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. We are in Rise of Legion, powered by Intel and Legion and Intel. These guys are heading into the first game. World's Edge, we go from survey camp all the way down to long side, and the teams are taking their place. Okay, before we begin, any teams that we should be looking out for?
So far in this lobby, I think we'll get a better layout of the teams that we get to look for after like the first two games, because the first game usually goes as a feeler. So most of the teams in the lobby might play this game a bit passive, just to get a sense of how this lobby is going, whether it's going super aggressive, whether teams are playing super passive. Towards the end of game 3 is where you might see teams go hell for shelter. So like they're definitely going to play way more aggressive to get those kill points to qualify for the semis. So we'll definitely keep a lookout for that. Right now, I think we have some action that might go on in Thermal Station right now. We have two teams here with Sway and Hyper Grim here. Both of their teams leading in. They might engage. Let's hope that they do, so we get some early game entertainment right here.
Yeah, let's hope so. There's a bunch of other teams also in Fragment who might end up facing each other, but since they're so far apart, it's likely that they ignore each other and just head towards the circle and mind their own business. Everywhere else, I don't really see any early game clashes for now. Now, we might get to see some clashes towards the north of Harvester, maybe even towards staging, as all the teams who are towards the south of the map start rotating in towards zone number 1. But then again, I don't think we'll be seeing any gatekeeping action this early on. I hope we get to see something or the other.
Right. Like it's surprisingly like Team Blitz here. They've got a duo. So if teams in the lobby by any chance review this VOD and like find out that there's a duo landing Lava Siphon, they might have a say in that to claim this spot, because Lava Siphon is generally one of the strong landing spots because of the shield that it gives you. But the irony to that being, when I mentioned shields, that teams right now is on a blue and a white. So
yeah, they'll find it. They'll find it soon enough. It's not just shields. Yeah? I kind of feel like Lava Siphon is one of those spots which has sufficient loot for the entire team, not just shield-wise, but even attachments-wise. Even Skyhook for that matter. It has all the loot you need, but it's a bit too big. Takes a long time to loot it out, and of course, you don't know what's on the other side. You don't know whether teams are here or not.
Right. We've got an interesting comp going on here with Team Goated here. Shiva's definitely a player to look out for over the course of the next few days. Going up with Loba and no Valkyrie. And here again, we're seeing the first Seer of the lobby and Horizon as well, as we mentioned before the lobbies. So it'll be very interesting to see how these team fights go, because they are pulling up on the other team that's located here in Thermal Station.
And it's interesting that this team happens to be pop-up girls. They start to pop off as well.
Just going in from Slick Lane indeed.
Oh.
He's gonna go on in with his nades here, try to clean up this fight. Should be an easy cleanup, 2v3 for them. Like going in with the P20, and that's an easy cleanup for them. Shouldn't be a down. Quite a few shots missed there from Weird Roller, but he cleans up in the end. And that's the first points on the board, and that's your first action of the day. Weird Rolo, Beam Lord, and Slick Sane.
Yep. And the interesting part about these guys is that this team has been there in previous ROL tournaments as well. I remember seeing these guys somewhere in 2021 playing the same tournament in South Asia, except Weird Rolo wasn't on the team at that time. It was Slick Sane and Beam Lord and Bugatti, along with a third person whose name I unfortunately cannot remember right now. But Powerpuff Girls, they are definitely not any small buck that can be squashed. They are indeed the people who draw first blood, and it was a pretty easy cleanup for them as well, right? They didn't suffer any knocks, they didn't lose too much HP. In fact, only one of them got cracked, so I think Powerpuff Girls are off to a great start.
Right. It was a pretty clean fight on their end. No risk of getting third parties as well, especially when you
when you're this out
that quick. Yeah. So it should be good for them. I think they're gonna go ahead and craft their shields up to purple. Take their time, because they have located another team. It's probably the team from 3 that is rotated in, or the other team from Thermal. Shots going in right now from the Spitfire of Weird Rolo. Connects a bit, and he's gonna be moving in.
Yeah, but they forced out the Gibby Bubble, and that's the red flag for me. It's not going to be available for the next 30 seconds, and if in the next 30 seconds Powerpuff Girls can do something, it would be great. But for now, they're also chilling. They're replicating in the face of their enemies, just taunting them. Come, challenges if you have the cojones to do so. And it seems like for now, this is going to be a truce.
It definitely is. I think it's a truce that goes in the favor of Powerpuff Girls for sure, because they do get replicator advantage here, which means they're going to be stacked on shields and on resources.
And this is indeed a surprising comp as well, right? Even though my personal favorite hero is Pathfinder and I love grappling around, it doesn't really do much for the team. It's kind of like a selfish hero.
Right.
Same goes for
Yeah, that's when the off-meta characters that you were talking about
Yeah.
go in. Like on a comp level, Pathfinder and Wraith especially have become off-meta over the last few years or so. Obviously, with the first ever LGS tournament, Wraith and Pathfinder were like two of the main
Yeah.
meta characters. But
Yeah.
they've been slowly phased out, so to say, recently.
Yeah. Let's see if this comp can actually do some damage, because Team 420 is about to get into a fight, and they have the high ground. So I wouldn't exactly put them in a troublesome situation, but their enemies, I'm not so sure about them. They seem to be a little spread out. Let's see
Well,
if this move can help them.
Well, I think they're gonna go on and focus on their rotation and gatekeeping this team, because they do know that the other team has their Valkyrie ability, which they did indeed end up popping, and that's the rotation done for them. Now moving on to Team KMG with the Bookie Wookie. Quite interesting names here on the qualifier. Alright, we're gonna move on to an instant replay here. Let's review one of the fights that have just recently popped up. Here with Team Powerpuff Girls, there's a clean headshot body to start off that fight with, and the moment you get that first down that early in the fight, it just becomes relatively simple for you to clean up. Like 2v3 shouldn't really be a problem here. Quite a quick cleanup for them, taking us down to 15 squads left in this lobby. Starting off with just 16 for today. But the end of this game will be definitely more, will be packed with more action than the start of it.
For sure, for sure. And while we've seen plenty of fights up until now, there's only been one elimination, that too in Thermal Station. We saw that there could be a potential clash just outside of Lava Siphon. And we knew for the fact that there is a duo team in Lava Siphon as well, a Watson and a Caustic, very defensive characters. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same team that got into the fight along with the off-meta team that we were discussing, the Path, the Wraith, and the Bangalore. I'm not sure if it is the same team indeed, but they have disengaged for now, and I think that is going to be the name of the game, right? At least up until the third circle. You just try to avoid confrontation for as long as possible, try to avoid full sending it into the teams unless you actually get an AWK and have an advantage, and just play it coolly and calmly.
Right, I think as we can see on the camera, I think we have a team walking up on Team KMG right now from behind them. I think they're about to spot them right now. Yep, and it looks like this is Team 420 with the Flatliner coming in, and really good shots coming in here from Cyberphilic with his Flatline. One of the best guns in the game right now. See if they can capitalize on that damage, but they're being forced to back off here because of the nades coming in from Team 420, taking quite a bit of damage here. Team KMG is going to move on back and try to reset this fight, but 420 here not giving them any space to breathe. Oh, this is not 420. This is 420.
It is indeed 420. And for now, it seems like Dragoon has what it takes to breathe fire upon this enemy. Getting one knock already, about to finish off the rest, and they have done it. Just like that, Team 420 have taken 3 kills. Many more pockets to be filled right now with points, and soon they will be finding themselves on the receiving end of another fight as they try to head into the circle. There are multiple options that they have to choose a pathing into the circle. Let's see if they take the safest one.
Right, but that's there was something that Team 420 has to keep in mind is the next ring. They don't really want to be caught out towards endgame without having a spot to hold, because it is going to be a skyhook zone. So the thing with skyhook zones is like getting your building is very important with those zones. So
Yeah,
not having
and
that
keeping
much
it.
of a hindrance. And keeping it. Well, it's shared most of the time. Kind of like Mumbai apartments in there towards endgame. But yeah.
With bad roommates.
With horrible roommates.
Horrible roommates who want to kill you the first chance they get. But guess who else wants to kill some people? It's Powerpuff Girls once again.
They seem to be moving in here. The team seems to be slightly late on rotations for Lava Fisher team. They are moving in here. Shots did connect. He was cracked, but the reset has come in, and we move back to Frag East.
Yeah. An engagement, disengagement, just like that. They back off. Team 420. While they seem to be out of danger for now, there's definitely going to be something or the other triggered when they pick up this care package. Do you think teams actually keep track of this stuff, or are they just too busy trying to find a piece of real estate to hide in?
No, I think people do generally keep this in mind, because it does tell you where a team could possibly be. when you do see that care package beacon going off, like...
yeah, but then after that, you don't know where they went, right? So how do you deal with that?
Well, usually teams would definitely have a general understanding of like where a team would move in from certain rotations. Given that Team 420 is more of an edge team, I think they might just be heading off to high ground and planning the rotation after that. I don't think they've had the rotation planned out early on. They'll be taking more fights as we go. Looks like Powerpuff Girls is getting a beacon scan here, so they can just plan their next rotate. We can pull up the map right now. We could definitely try to see where they'll be going into next.
That should be fun. And while it seems like Skyhook is just gonna get edged out, maybe a little part of it is still inside the next ring. They've already spotted one team on the center Skyhook building, and they're spotting many more opponents, so they need to make their move wisely. If they can get into this bus station, that would be great. I'm sorry, not the bus station, the train station rather. Yeah, they're already getting shot at though, so even if their position is revealed, I think they're gonna be fine. They already...
Oh, we're moving on to the tunnel here outside Skyhook. There's fight going on here with Team Goaded here. Shiva's trying to get that entry damage here with his flatline. The other team seems to be backing off, and they seem to have this entire spot here just held down pretty well. Generally one of the stronger positions to play in a Skyhook tunnel zone.
Yeah, but this, will it be a strong position? Pop-up Girls, they are getting pushed in. Horizontal goes off inside, and they're burning alive as well. Trying to avoid all the utility damage as they back away from the door. But at least they haven't let any of their opponents inside yet. They've avoided the ordnance damage too. A flank attempted, but it won't succeed. The Wingman doing quite a lot of damage, and for now it does seem like Pop-up Girls are the ones who are dishing out more damage. They're the ones who are trying to go ahead and finish the boss as soon as possible. Priya already down on the ground. That's the frag claimed by Weird Rolo. Oh, but he doesn't even get time to pop the heals. They're getting pushed again, and this coordination, it's amazing. This little bait and switch maneuver from the side of Pop-up Girls might actually help them out as they find the second knock. And this could be their confirmation of victory soon enough. Just one more yet to be found, and just like that, another team bites the dust. But the moment I say that, Weird Rolo has more problems coming towards him. He's just got beamed down by a charge rifle in a direction that he has no idea about, and they know for a fact they must reset quickly before more trouble arrives.
That is Team Goaded, so they're definitely going to try taking advantage of the situation, but I'm pretty sure that he has enough shield swaps there to not worry about that, so that the third party should be a problem. I don't think Team Goaded would ideally want to leave this spot because it is a very strong position to hold. So getting that extra KP is definitely not worth risking your winning spot for endgame. And they've realized that, that's why they moved back on.
Yeah, especially because most of the circle pathways are very narrow in this region, right? They just have to take care of that one little tunnel entrance and the other one on the other side. They can just gatekeep all the other teams if they are strong enough to do so. Team Relentless, though, taking the position under the bridge of this tunnel. And while it's a safe place to hang out in, will Team Goaded come out and punch them in the face? That could be a possibility.
I think Team Goaded would definitely want to have a strong control over the tunnel. But I feel like wasting a Gibraltar ult right now on one player definitely seems to be another play, but nope, it does not. It seems to be another team altogether.
Oh,
Team Relentless in a bit of trouble right now. Gets the crack on the horizon here, but they do try to reset here, and oh, it's quite a hectic fight, and Sway goes down.
Sway with the bow check, good for one, but will they be able to get anything else on top of it? The reset can't happen quickly enough. Scarecrow goes down in an instant, and the Valkyrie on top just stuck over here with the Ox there, but still wins the duel. Rex, he must be regretting that so much, and it's down to Calyx, down to a 1v3, and he pulls it off. The clutch is successful for Team Relentless, and he's got enough time to reset.
Yep, that was quite a messy fight there. That fight, especially for a close range fight, shouldn't have lasted that long. Yeah. But yeah, they didn't seem to get third partied from Shiva's team that's standing in the back of the tunnel right there, which is pretty surprising since that did come down to a 1v1 in the end.
Exactly.
Team 420 here trying to force their way into zone. That charge rifle, I think, is still coming from the direction of Team Goaded. Definitely an excellent gun to control the area with. Moving on to a fight here with Hell just trying to survive here, running Hell for Leather. Just trying trying to keep his team alive to get some placement points while he's solo. Definitely gonna try to survive up here for as long as he can, but doesn't look like he's gonna survive too long because he's out of health. And well, scan reveals that it's just a duo for now, and he's gonna hope that he can reset with his team. But they're gonna try moving on in because there's definitely gonna be a team gatekeeping them on the other tunnel.
Yeah, getting gate kept, running out of resources, lacking members in your team. Oh, this seems to be the worst case scenario for this team. At least they had the high ground, but it doesn't really seem like one of those advantages that you can actually capitalize on, especially when you have to leave this tower and head deeper into the circle.
Well, the position they're on right now, if the other team does not have a Valkyrie, and if they do not manage to rotate, well, they're going to get wiped. It is a duo, and they're getting pressured by Goated and by CTG at the same time. That Gibraltar is extremely low, and he's going to probably end up going down soon unless... nope, he gets the bubble up though. He's going to be fine for now, but it seems to be a certain death for ATHXVY. Well, looks like he just got taken down there.
Oh no, attaboy. That's not something he can say to his teammates after getting taken down like that, but will he be able to get back up on his feet? I don't think his teammates even have the time to go for something like that. But here comes the Kraber.
We always love to see a headshot with the Kraber here. King bid.
And this king has just taken off somebody else's crown. Let's see if he can actually steal the throne. As this team, while they have the weaponry, they have too many targets on their plate. And this team 420 who also has a little bit of trouble on their hands right now. They have lost 2 members already. Dragoon trying to get out, but won't be able to get out of trouble. Goes straight into his grave at the hands of Warriors World.
Yep, and that's what I said. The lack of planning for end zone usually comes back to bite you in the behind because, as you can see, their team 420, they got caught out on their flash rotation because they didn't have a spot to rotate in. Especially with teams that do not have Valkyrie to crutch up end game rotations, it becomes pretty hard for them, especially like with characters like Pathfinder and team. But moving on, looks like Warriors World here is going to be holding a super strong spot here, hoping none of their players go down so that the team can engage with them. But I think this is one of our duos in the team just getting eliminated right now. Quick cleanup for Deadbeats right here. Deadbeats one of the regular teams that usually appear in our South Asian tournaments here. Quite a stable team. Been together for quite a while. They understand how they play together.
Yeah, but it makes sense if they are indeed a stable team like that. So it makes sense that they're in the top 4. Let's see if they can actually get the dub or not. But the fact that Hell and his teammates managed to survive all the way up until the top 5, it's surprising to me considering how low they were in both resources and men. Deadbeats now, they have to fight their way inside. In the next 20 seconds, they need to clear this area and move deeper into the circle. But they have 2 teams to fight on. One team hiding underneath towards their right-hand side, underneath the bridge, and right in front of them, another nemesis, which they have to choose. Which one will they fight first? Will they fight neither and hope that they fight each other?
Shooter, move.
I think for the next few seconds, these teams are just going to posture and just wait for somebody to make the first move and then try to make a play off of that. Team Warriors will here, and quite literally, I think, the best spot for this endgame right now. That fuse ult that's been coming in from one of these teams. Yep. It seems like Team Golden just moves on in.
Oh. Team Goated, they definitely want to send the lambs to the slaughter as they wipe out King's World within a matter of seconds. And this was so quick, they don't even get third party quickly enough. Shield swaps.
That makes it possible for third party coming in here from Deadbeats here. Deadbeats have picked the right moment to push in. First one goes down, but still a 2v2 here. But he gets absolutely beamed by Ends of Days. Skull Hunter, last one alive, trying to salvage anything for his team, but no, Team Goated with the first dub.
Oh, that is incredible. Team Goated with the first dub. They quickly dispatch Warriors World into the Nether Realms. Quickly shield swapped, ready for the next battle. And even though Deadbeats, they missed by just a second or 2. Those few seconds were enough for Shiva and the boys to reset themselves and get ready for the next fight. And the fact that they survived that third party attempt itself is a big deal. So Team Goated indeed standing true to their name.
Definitely, Crips. That's where it comes back to that. Every second, every last millisecond, it just matters too much in an ALGS endgame or in any tournament endgame when it comes to Apex Legends. The slightest miscommunication can definitely cost you a game. As you can see, their Deadbeats moved in there a bit too late there when the team Goated managed to get
Yeah.
their shield swap off, and they managed to reset completely so they could take that 3v3 nice and fair, and they ended up paying the price for it, not winning the game.
Yeah, it's not even they were too late, right? They were just like 1 or 2 seconds late,
Right.
just enough for them to put those red shields back on their chest. And that is what makes all the difference. That, and of course, Team Goated being a bunch of indeed truly goated aimers, beaming down their opponents and finishing these fights super, super quickly.
Right, Team Goated played that endgame perfectly. They held out one of the winning positions towards endgame. They held out tunnel pretty well, which was usually a nice spot, like for a lot of traffic to come through. They've controlled that spot, didn't allow anyone to get a hold of that, and then they just let Warriors World just take control of the beacon point, where they ended up moving on in and just killing them for that spot, and they kind of popped off towards the end. So their score is going to be quite high with the amount of KP that they've got just sitting there and picking off people as the game went on.
Exactly. They got 6 KP just in the last 20 seconds of the game. Now, that must have been incredible, right? Wiping out 2 squads like that without getting a single knock, without suffering anything in return. That is just incredible. Plus, of course, the points you get for winning the game itself. That also has to be something amazing. Deadbeats, though, while they were able to get in the second spot, I didn't really see them actively participating in the early game fights. Meanwhile, I can't really say the same for Team Goated because they were actively involved in hunting down members. And if not actually wiping out some of the teams early on, at least they were just trying to take pot shots at anyone and everyone who came across their way.
Right, and especially like throughout the course of this lobby, as we're going to see in these highlights, we did see a lot of off-meta teams here, like as we can see with Seer, as we saw earlier today, getting clean wipe-ups. And special note on Seer, we saw it earlier when they were fighting in Train Station, the abilities came in hand. But 420 here did quite well to manage that fight. But yeah, as you see with Seer, his ultimate ability comes in handy quite a lot when it comes to playing defensively against a team. How it works is that you want to get that first pick so then you can just slowly play it and just like pick teams off. Like as you can see, you can just identify who's off position, who's away from their team. Like, you can single out a target pretty easily when it comes to Seer.
Yeah, isolation and extermination. That's the name of the game for Mr. Seer over here. And this flamboyant character helped them get quite a lot of wins. But in the end, all these talented, all these amazing positions that were taken up by the, let's say, members of Warriors World, or even Deadbeats for that matter, they all became kind of redundant when the members of Team Goated just decided to full send and wipe them out with nothing but brute force. Speaking of brute force, this clutch by Calyx over here for Team Relentless, also a very, very cool clip to look at.
Yep, and here with King here just providing us with that lovely headshot perspective. Just love to see that. Although it is a crutch gun, a lot of pros complain about it, but well, it's always fun to watch from a caster's perspective. Everyone's head getting taken off once in a while. Did get that nerf though, without that one. But now we move on to the last fight here. We can see Team Deadbeats here when they didn't manage to clean up on the fight with Team Goated.
Oof. you saw that movement in the end. Movement. The guy just jumped all over his head, forced him to turn 180 degrees around, and that just shows you how much mechanical prowess Team Goated have, loading and just running in their veins. Now, that's the kind of firepower that can win you games, and if you want some amazing firepower for your peripherals as well, go ahead and check out the products from Intel and Legion. You'll find the link in the description below, so go ahead and give them a big shout out and some love as well for making this tournament possible and giving all these amazing teams a chance to showcase their talent. Speaking of talent, which team impressed you the most? Of course, other than Team Goated, which other team impressed you the most in this game?
I think Powerpop Girls is definitely a team that we're going to have to look out for over the next 2 games. The way they play, I think they've kind of figured out how to play Seer in a competitive aspect, as I said before. It's about whenever you're defending a building and there's a team pushing on you with that Seer ult, it's more about identifying a weakness in that team, like the weakness in their positioning, and just catching them out as they did when they got that first pick. And then when it goes down to a 2v3, it's just going to be an easy cleanup with you, especially when you have Seer wallhacks.
Seer wall hacks, just giving you the ability to pre-fire and isolate and exterminate. That does seem like kind of a good character, right? I mean, in comparison, now that Bloodhound doesn't give you constant scanning unless you're in that ultimate form, it doesn't really make all that sense for you. And it's even in the gaps when you lose vision on your opponents temporarily, not sure if that's a big enough window for them to go ahead and reset or maybe just somehow heal up. but definitely staying inside that dome of the Seers, his chamber of heart, it's not going to be beneficial for you at all. And you got to consider the way they put it and use it as well, right? They put it inside the building so that it can't be broken unless the enemy team invades the interior of that train station, which is something they obviously won't do. So it's not like they can break it either.
Right, and you can definitely see that Bloodhound and Seer definitely have a massive difference in the skill gap when it comes to the players
Hmm.
using them. Right, it takes quite a bit to master Seer because it takes quite a lot of team coordination and
Hmm.
excellent communication as well when you're playing a Seer comp. Whereas whenever it comes to Bloodhound, it's more like a scan and go kind of a
Hmm.
comp, which is
It's more
why he's
forgiving.
become. Yeah, it's very forgiving when it comes to Bloodhound, which is why he's just slowly becoming more and more redundant as it comes from a competitive aspect.
Oh, well, let's see if we get to see some nice Bloodhound action in the next game, because keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we have two more games remaining for the day, and that's going to be the end of Qualifier 1 today. So far, Team Coded, after winning this particular match, I think they've secured enough points to be safe throughout the entire qualifier. Even if they had two bad games in the next few games, I think they're still going to be up there in the top 5 without any problems whatsoever. Same goes for Team Deadbeats and Warrior World. Maybe even Pop Up Girls, because they have been actively fighting and gathering KP, even though they didn't survive for that long towards the end.
Definitely, especially when it comes to a tournament that has like 3 games in the qualifier.
Hmm.
The way your first game goes is definitely going to be extremely important to you, because getting that win and getting those points up on the board will be quite vital to getting you into that top 5 to qualify for the finals coming in, because it's going to be hard to dethrone you, especially like if say we have 3 teams that are running the lobby in
Hmm.
the qualifier,
Hmm.
then it would give some of the lower teams less of an opportunity to rise up to those points. But we'll see how it carries on in the next few games. I think we'd expect more aggressive plays from some of the teams on the lower half of the table as the tournament goes on, because they are trying to catch up to the massive point gap that they've left in the first initial games, which then might change, the whole outlook of the lobby. It might turn into more of an edge ring playstyle with them going for more kills, or it might turn into a hectic endgame circle, because a lot of them might be in the mindset that they want to definitely play for placement points. If they may not be that confident with their mechanical skills going in, and well, not everyone usually can manage to pick up like 10, 15 kills in a lobby, so they might definitely want to go for placement points that they might want to crunch up on through the course of this tournament.
So it's all about maintaining a decent balance, right? You got to have a decent mix of the kill points and the placements. Ideally, if you have a top 3 placement along with like 2 squad wipes worth of kill points, it should be enough for you to maintain your position inside the top 5. And even if you have a bad game, you have a little bit of a buffer that way. So yeah, you can afford to have like one bad game, not like terribly bad where you get eliminated right at the start, but yeah, if you get like a few points, an average of 5 points per game should be enough. Now, let's take a look at the scoreboard and see exactly where these teams stand. Let's see who's on the top and who needs to catch up.
Right. So as predicted, we have Team Goated that starts off with the first win of the day with 21 points, and with a 7-point gap to start the tournament, with Deadbeats falling them behind. Warriorsville and Powerpuff Girls definitely tied on third and fourth place here. The only thing separating them at this point would be their placement points, which does carry more weight than your kill points. Moving on to like the bottom 10, the teams have definitely underperformed. They managed to get like an average of
Hmm?
1 to 0 points here, but teams in the top 10 to look out for, I think, would definitely be right now our top 4 teams from the last game, who did perform really well especially in their 3v3 fights. But some of them definitely lost out whenever it came to rotations. For example, Team 420 there, they did look good in their
Yeah.
3v3 fights, but the lack of rotation planning ended up costing them that game when they ended up going out like in top 8, I think. So definitely planning your rotation well is going to take your team quite far in this tournament.
And it's kind of surprising to see Team 420 down there in the ninth place, considering we were watching them fight quite actively. And while they were not, wiping out squads left, right, and center, they were taking pot shots quite often. And that's probably why I thought, yeah, maybe 420 is going to be one of those teams that we get to see on the camera for quite a long time. And they did have quite a lot of camera presence. But if you're one of those teams who are on our minds and on our tongues for a long time, we would expect them to perform better, right? We would expect them to have more points. They still have
Right.
2 more games. Maybe they can redeem themselves.
If I'm not wrong, they didn't have a Gibraltar in their team, did they?
I don't believe, I don't think they did. I do remember they had a Valkyrie and a Horizon, but I don't think they had any big characters in their game. No Gibbies, no Caustics.
Right, so I think the lack of defensive characters in their team and caused a bit of imbalance with their meta setup. So that might have cost them. So they might be looking at a meta change maybe over the course of the next few games. We're about to find out as our next games start. But for now, we're just going to be focusing on these few teams, and we're going to be moving on to a break now.
Yep, we'll see you on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Intel and Legion presents Rise of Legion Apex Legends Tournament. My name is Crips. With me is Ultimate Noob, and we are going to be your casters for the day. The first game of the tournament, I'm sorry, not the tournament, the first game of this particular qualifier is already over. Team Goated were the winners, and we had teams Warrior World, and I do believe it was. Who was it at the third position? Remind me again. Yeah, it was Team Deadbeats.
Deadbeats on second place and Power Pop
Mm,
Girls on sharing fourth place with
mm.
Warriors World. They are on the same
Yeah.
points right now.
Yeah, so there are 4 teams who are currently competing for the top position. Of course, Team Goated have a little bit of an advantage, but there's still 2 more games left to be played out today. So let's see whether Team Goated can remain in the #1 position, or will someone take them down? What's more important is that there are teams who are towards the 5th, 6th, and 7th position, sharing quite a similar amount of points. So any upshifts or downshifts in that region could result in a team either qualifying to the group stage or having their dreams crushed right here and now.
Right, and it's really important for the teams on the lower half of the table right now to definitely keep their composure and realize that the top 5 is not as far away as they think it is. It's only around 10 points away from them. So definitely it's not much to catch up in, especially if they have one good game. It's all it takes to turn around
Yeah.
a tournament that only goes for around 3 games. So game 2 is going to be an extremely crucial game, especially for the teams who are playing catch up and the teams who are trying to move out of that bottom zone. Definitely don't want to be caught in the bottom 10 of it, and definitely want to move on to those finals where they'll be getting quite a lot of exposure, especially playing against teams of the caliber of Reignite and Burger that we'll be seeing over the course of this week.
Oh yeah, those teams are on a whole new level, and if anyone hopes to take them down, if anyone even hopes to go toe-to-toe against them, they're gonna have to do well right here and now first against teams who are of similar caliber. Let's see if we get to see some cool action again, or will we get to see teams trying to go for something passive, maybe just trying to go for the placement points. Of course, since there's very few games left for this particular qualifier to end, every team who's starting to get desperate will go one of 2 ways. They will either try to be more aggressive or they will try to be more passive. They will definitely not remain where they are. Status quo will be changed, and they can't afford to stay somewhere in the center.
Right, especially when it comes to game 3. Game 3 is going to be quite exciting to watch because I think we're going to see quite a few teams take on early engagements for the sake because they're desperate for points when it comes to the end because they want to qualify so bad. So it's gonna be quite a hectic start to game 3. But as far as game 4 goes, I think now that they've seen how the lobby has been playing out and they have more info on like how each team plays their fights, we'll have a bit more. We might have a bit more fights as it usually goes on in game 2. Game 1's usually, like as I said before, like a feeler game. Teams do tend to play more passive as it goes on, but game 2 is usually where you see more action in general when it comes to fights, especially. Ideally, I don't think most teams would want to take mid-game fights unless they definitely have to get to a position. That's where characters like your Valkyrie come into play. But we have been seeing a lot of teams in this lobby, which was surprising, not rock Valkyrie, which does usually hamper rotational abilities a lot of the time, especially if you're playing from edge locations like Kree, Lava Fissure, Skyhook, right? You definitely need that character to like make up for the lack of time that you spend rotating. And as we head into game 2 right now, we can definitely see if anyone has changed up their comp going into this game. And just as I said it, we're seeing Mad Maggie, Bangalore, and Octane on the first team that pulls up. Definitely going to be quite an exciting game to spectate here.
Oh, definitely, and
Let's land here.
definitely, and the map has changed too. We're going to Storm Point, much bigger, so a lot more real estate available. But at the same time, it can be extremely unforgiving for some of those teams who are trying to rotate via the center of that map, especially in the Forbidden Zone. So let's see whether we get to see some early game fights. There might be a skirmish towards the mill right at the beginning, and another skirmish towards towards Stormcatcher and Thunderwatch.
I think the fights are going off right now at North Pad, if I'm not wrong. Yep, there's 2 teams that might disengage in the fight right now. They have picked up a few kills and the fight has ended, but Launchpad might see a little bit of action right now as we're going in here. and the teams contesting fish farms as well. Quite a spread of teams here towards the lower southeastern part of the map.
Exactly. And more than that, 2 teams have already been eliminated. One of those fights ended towards the middle. The second fight, I didn't even get to catch a glimpse of it. That's how quick it was.
Yep, and that's what we said when we're going into game 2. We're definitely going to see a bit more of an aggressive playstyle here, and teams OP skills here pulled out Seer, which is gonna be interesting to watch them. More Seers popping up in the lobby. They're playing Seer versus Seer right now, and a Bloodhound.
All right. Well, if the enemy team has 2 scanning characters, that should be a little problem for OP skills, because that's going to determine their positions very clearly. The other team has already figured out that OP skills is now trapped inside this room, all 3 of them. If they can bombard them with enough nades, and if they can force out that Gibraltar too, maybe things should be possible for Powerpuff Girls. Keep in mind that Powerpuff Girls were also the kind of team who got into early game fights in the previous game as well. They were the ones who started picking up fight towards thermal stations, and once again, they don't shy away from early game engagements.
Yep, Powerpuff Girls definitely one of the stronger 3v3 fighting teams in this lobby. They're going to try looking for a pick here because this team is just holed up in one single building, and Powerpuff Girls have the advantage of playing more aggressively. Playing more aggressive versus playing passive when it comes to especially a fighting comp, definitely helps you a bit more, but it all comes down to who gets the first pick or who gets the first chunk of damage here for their teammates to move in.
Oh, will they go for a win right now? Because for now, it seems like they're just teasing each other. Maybe a well-connected Arcstar or some really well-placed ordnance can force out an error from OP skills. Oh, hold on. No, not like this. They have lost their Gibraltar, and it's not even their fault. A disconnection. Now, luckily, Powerpuff Girls haven't realized this. If they knew this, then they would have moved in right now.
Oh, there he goes, and unfortunate end to the game for this team here. Personally, I do sympathize with him because I have been on the receiving end of quite a few disconnects, but nothing much you can do about it. Just rest, reset, move on. Better find better luck in game 3 for this team now as we move on, because Powerpuff Girls is going to end up cleaning up the last player left alive.
Yeah, and you gotta feel bad for them as well, right? They jumped towards the very end of the dropship path into the most obscure corner of the map towards the northeast, and they were hoping that, yeah, sure, nobody should be challenging us here, but what do they know? They run into Powerpuff Girls. And I've noticed they're also the kind of teams who stick towards the edge of the map, right? Like in Thermal Station, southwestern corner of the last map, and now they're towards the northeast, just the polar opposite end of the map.
Yep, and what we're seeing now is just a case of a bit of a mouse chase right now with Powerpuff Girls. They don't want to get caught out by another team that looks at them chasing this solo player, so they definitely don't want to chase this guy for way too long. They might be opting out of it right now, as we see. Yep. Beam Lord definitely trying to get a layout of if there's any team around him before they move on down to there, but it seems like they're just going to take their time chasing this solo down. Like it's not up on their list of priorities here.
Let's see if their priorities change. Would you be the guy who chases a solo all the way across the map? Do you think that's something you would be interested in?
Absolutely
in a lobby
not.
like this? Okay.
No. Because if you're a team that's definitely confident about your mechanical ability, I don't think you would be that desperate over chasing a solo. You would be more focused on taking a rotation and maybe fighting another team for another 3v3. Because we have seen that Powerpuff Girls definitely have that strength when it comes to winning their 3v3s. They're a very strong team in close fights.
Speaking of close fights, here's Relentless Esports, definitely not close to winning this game as they've already lost two of their players. And Sprags not gonna survive this one. The end of days will end his life, and that's gonna be another win for Team Goated.
Goated relentlessly sending Relentless back to the lobby.
Absolutely.
Forgive me for puns on stream. I think that.
Hey, that's completely acceptable, bro. Puns are the way of life.
I'd figure that puns are a faster way to get banned than swearing.
Depends on what kind of
Quite
puns you are interested in.
Well, I have been practicing my dad jokes recently. I've become
Did
an
you knock
uncle
someone
quite
up?
recently.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
okay.
Well, I definitely hope I haven't knocked anyone up.
Alright
Definitely
then.
not ready for that stage in life. I think the
Yeah.
only worry I want to have is money.
If you've knocked
and
down enough
life.
people in Apex.
Yeah, quite a few of those. I've had 3 years to do that.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, now I've gone from playing tournaments to casting them now, so it's quite a lifestyle change.
Quite a lifestyle change, but here, Powerpuff Girls, they don't want any lifestyle changes. They just want to make sure that their score changes on the overall leaderboard. They already figured out how to get the knock onto Caustic. They just need to find out the remaining members. And
Let's spot him there, and it's not even the bow track. It's close range.
wow. Bro, he just got styled on. A mid-air bow check shot followed by 2 pumps at the Peacekeeper. Enough to end Zanelia's life and send Powerpuff Girls a few points ahead in terms of kill points. Here's another Horizon though. Let's see if this one can get as quick of a SWAT wipe as possible. They've already escaped the Gibby plus the Valkyrie combination, allowing them a quick and easy escape. But will Team Epsilon bite the bait? Will they go for the chase? Seems very risky to do so.
No, I don't think Team Epsilon will want to push on that angle, because the only way you get up there is by taking that zip or by walking up over open high ground, which is usually like a suicide move. So you're definitely gonna play to their position right now. What we're seeing here though is that quite a lot of teams are not rocking defensive characters, so they have a bit more of an aggressive intent as it goes into this lobby. Now we're seeing Pathfinder and Horizon combined with Valkyrie, like, because usually Valkyrie would be a mainstay on most teams. Not sure with the Pathfinder picks, but definitely I can tell that it's for aggressive intent, for picking up those kill points to catch up with the rest of the lobby as this tournament moves on.
Yeah, especially when Team Epsilon, I mean, they're the kind of team that have all sort of movement characters, right? You have verticality and speed for most of the players over here. And that's probably why I believe that they're just relying on comfort picks, you know? If Baymax is used to swinging around like Budget Spider-Man, then sure, he's going to be comfortable doing it in a competitive lobby too. Can't really say the same for this team, though, as they've already lost their poor Gibraltar. It hasn't been finished off yet, but I don't think there's going to be any way for them to recover that banner unless they're willing to go back into the Lion's Den, especially when they're lacking resources and shields.
It's like Blink Chilling here is going to get quite a good beam off of the Pathfinder right around the corner. He's going to try to capitalize on that, not give him any space to breathe, but he does not want to get caught out here, but he gets punished by Kronish right there.
Oh, thought he had the Pathfinder cornered, but Kronish pulled out a little bait and switch, protected his fellow teammate, and took his place in the fight instead. And that results in Bing Chilling biting the dust. Ah, I got a good too greedy. I don't really blame him. The way he got that beam, even I would have been thirsty enough to try and confirm that knock, but you were extended, and Kronish also, credit where credit is due, protected his teammate with his life.
Yep, that's right. Kronish there coming in clutch with that Devo, which is quite an annoying gun to face, especially when you're in arenas. Speaking of annoying guns to face, we have a longbow here in the hands of Snapsy.
Oh. But this is also one of those positions that becomes very annoying to deal with, right? I mean, these guys are on top of Launchpad, and sure, this vantage point gives them all the information that they require, but will they be able to defend this as teams start to crowd around them? It's kind of going to become a tough task to just keep track of all the teams and stay covered as well. Sure, they can just bow out and keep their heads down, but I don't think that's the kind of playstyle that Team Goated want to go for. They're the kind of team that want all those kill points. And as we take a look at the map, Antenna lies completely unclaimed. So does Gale Station. Entry points for all these teams are available in abundance, but is that where the next zone is going to be? If we find out where the next zone is going to be, then maybe we can make a more accurate prediction on what kind of teams will have an advantage. But for now, I'm really worried about Blunder King and his boys. They're going to have to cover a long distance to get down, and there are 2 other teams waiting in the way.
I think as we head on down to Antenna, we might have an engagement there with Team 420 that's about to run into a team on the south side of the map here. Team Goated here, spotting Powerpuff Girls popping up on the northern side of the map there. taking some pot shots, but I don't think they're going to stay there for too long. But that's where this longbow comes in handy. With the area control that you can get, you can definitely pick shots and just push teams away from quite a big radius around you. Take control of quite a large amount of real estate as we move on down to team skillless.
Oh, just a bunch of pot shots. Now, tell me something. If these guys do indeed get a knock, their opponent is still quite far away. Do you think they're going to use the Valkyrie ultimate to get over there and curse that guy and abandon the position that they have already? Because that's a pretty good position. Oh, forget about the position right now. Team Skillless over here going ratatata with the Spitfire. Kronish, though, once again beams down Keep Cube. And that is on the other side of the door, so let's see if Keep Cube can get a revive. Of course, if they try to stick this one, it's going to be difficult, but Sway is already backing out of this one. They're leaving their teammate for the dead.
I think they just came to a collective decision that, guys, we're not winning this 2v3.
Yeah.
We might as well just head out and try to save face on whatever's left of this game. And moving back to your question with the team getting a knock in with their Valkyrie, it's definitely not a position that you would want to give up, especially for the sake of wiping a team, because the potential you have to pick up kills on this spot that Team Goated is on is much higher than what they would pick up from pushing that team. Especially since the team would have reset by the time they Valkyrie. There's just too much time being wasted over there.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to stay up here and just hold this spot.
Yeah. Plus, why would you want to give up on a spot like this, right? It makes sense to give up on it now because it's outside the zone and you need to move a little bit more inside. But hey, you can still continue staying here and gatekeep the other team that you're facing right now. That would be a pretty ideal outcome. Ruin their day and then move into the zone when you've got the opportunity to do so.
Yep, and that's the beauty of playing on edge. You just pressure teams coming in to pick up your kill points towards mid to end game here, especially how Team Goated here just pressuring relentlessly. Some flatline fire here down on some Powerpuff Girls.
Well, that's Powerpuff Girls, huh? Powerpuff Girls, Team Goated, two of the strongest teams in the lobby. This could be a clash of the Titans. And now the Team Goated don't have any angles available onto Powerpuff Girls. They're like, why don't we just reposition ourselves? Let's go deeper into the zone where we can also get our hands on a sweet care package if they go towards the right-hand side.
Yep, and now the spot that Team Goated claims is going to be extremely important for how the end of this game plays out. Especially with the way they managed to control space in the last game. If they manage to do the same thing in this game, we could quite potentially be seeing a repeat of the results. Team Powerpuff Girls here just going to take their time to get some resources and reset themselves. They seem to be sticking with a bow check towards the end of this game. It's not really a common pick when it comes to guns. It seems like Slick can make work with it.
Yep. Let's see if he can be slick with it, though, but I don't think that's going to be possible for Gladdy as he fights the dust. His team is disconnected before the final guy even went down. And with that, Team Epsilon, they've got a couple of kills as well. Not just that, they've got an entry into the zone without being pressured by any other team or without being third-party. So I think that's a win-win for them.
Yep, and Team Goated here have spotted that this side of the map is going to be where the power position is going to be for the end of this game, especially with the zone closing in. The zone's probably going to push around where they're positioned right now, so they'll have control over all sides of the hill with point of views on practically everyone in the lobby. So the way the next circle moves is going to be quite crucial. Especially with Storm Point, the circles are quite straightforward here, unlike World Edge, which does change quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how World's Edge game ended last time, right? For the longest time, it seemed like it's going to be an urban Skyhook finish, but then it moved on towards the tunnels. But here is another person who won't be going into the tunnels. They'll be going straight into the grave. Oyash falls and suffers defeat. Will they be able to finish off the remaining members as well? CTG trying to take bot shots. They've already got the crack, but the Gibby Dome protects them for now. It's a very short amount of time they have before a potential third party shows up, because we know for a fact that even Team Goated is just on top of this hill. They definitely want to participate.
Oh, it seems like Team Deadbeat got quite a sticky situation. No, I spoke a bit too soon. Blunder King there taking quite a chunk of damage there. And he goes down as well. Well, I jinxed Deadbeats. I sorry to players on their team. I do have that effect quite a lot.
Hey, a caster's curse can turn into a blessing at any given moment. As long as Team Deadbeats keep themselves alive for the next 1.5 minutes, maybe they can get into the zone, and they just need to edge a little closer. If they can somehow get underneath Team CTG without taking all this damage, they should be fine, because then they'll be safe from at least Team CTG. The only thing they'll have to worry about is probably the members of Team Goated taking pot shots at them while they're trying to cross. Even that's going to be difficult given the rock facade over there. But yeah, how do you get out of this place? They've already used up that great teleporter, and that portal could have been crucial to, you know, get them to safety. But instead, it just got them a little closer to the edge of the zone, not completely into the safe zone.
And things just got worse for Deadbeats because now they have Goated pressuring them from above, and they have Nugget pressuring them from the house. So it looks like they're just gonna have to hold out for as long as they can till they can get their Valkyrie ultimate to get on out of there. We can see Team Powerpuff Girls here engaging with the team trying to get up some KP before the next game, before the next zone comes in. But seem to have escaped in time.
Yeah, Epsilon made that escape. Powerpuff Girls deliberately avoided the rotation which runs into Team Goated, choosing to go the other side instead. But Team Deadbeats over here might suffer defeat as almost all of them are running low on HP. The Peacekeeper going boom on everybody, but it's Blunder King who's left with just 1 shot worth of health. Will he be able to cluster this one out? There aren't any armor swaps available either, but he just needs to pop a bat. So will that be enough? I do believe that he's probably best running away from this location. Even Team Goated are directly on top of this rock. They've given up their position on top of the hill instead to make sure that they can secure the KP.
Could this potentially be a fatal error with the side of Team Goated here? With they've missed out on their spot, and they're down a member now, so they've lost control over the area, and they're duo.
Sorry to interrupt you, but they do have a mobile respawn beacon, so maybe they can get their third member back online. But again, that's going to be a massive risk.
And with the zone closing in, it's going to have to be a miracle. So they're going to have to start praying now. If any of them are agnostic,
well, now's the time to start believing, I guess. But what's more important is that they must believe that they can get a position into the zone, because for now it does seem like whatever edge is left is gonna be belonging to Team Epsilon. They not only have positions on Team Goated, but they have to worry about their backs as well towards the other side of this rock facade. A responsibility which I don't think they're ready for just yet.
Well, it seems like Powerpuff Girls have been absolutely, well, I can't say it, but they've been messed over by Respawn right now because they have a player under the map. They have a player under the map.
What do you mean under the map? Oh, well, the armory, yeah.
No, he's gone under the map. He's gone. He's just stuck under the map.
Is that a bug or what?
It is. See it on your screen here. He is under the map.
Jeez. Okay, it's been a while since I've seen something as silly as that, but 420, they make quick work of their opponents hiding under this IMC armory, and that's the box of weird roller that they are looting up. So this is Team Goated biting the dust. Imagine winning the last game and then finishing in the top 5 in this game as well.
That was Powerpuff Girls.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Those are Powerpuff Girls, not Team Goated. So, yeah, still, a top 5 finish in both the games. A decent enough positioning for them, regardless of wherever they end up. They still should have enough points to keep themselves stable in the top 5 and qualify for the next stage.
Well, I think you might have jinxed Goated this time, because the moment you said that they're out of the lobby, they have a member down again. And the only other person up right now is Sapsy, who just got respawned, so he's in a lack of resources and Shivas.
Yeah, it's not even like they had a lot of time to loot up the remaining dead boxes over there. By the time his teammate just landed on the ground, things were already over. Epsilon have already found them. They can sniff the blood, and they want to shed it on the ground as well. They want to turn this green grass covered full of crimson, and they are beaming the populace, aiming at their heads straight up as Dragula manages to knock out both Shiva and Sapsy. And they get back to safety before they can even suffer knocks from the teams on the other side of the rock facade. So this is a damn good fight from the side of Team Epsilon.
Well, this is going to make everything very interesting going into Game 3, because the top 5 teams from the lobby have all been eliminated going into the end of the game.
Oh yeah? That's gonna give the teams towards the bottom of the scoreboard a chance to come back. That's gonna make the Game 3 even more interesting, but for now, there's only 3 teams remaining. 420 have already forced out their Gibby bubble, and they don't have too much cover to work with around here.
Well, this is going to be a very tough rotate in the end for Team Epsilon because they do not have a Gibby to reset their fight. And as we see 420 here moving up to clean up Team Epsilon and get that spot.
Oh, Team Epsilon now getting pushed by 420. They don't really have a choice. They have to move in. Epsilon need to defend this one. If they don't, they will have given up all the advantage that they had. And it seems like it's a 1v3, so they are not doing too well. 420 seem to be on the winning end of this fight, but CTG also want a piece of the action before they can move inside. They're going to be forced to deal with the rats who are just trying to go for the chill pops. And he actually manages to pull it off. Are you serious right now? He could not secure that knock in time, and that's given 420 enough momentum to get back on their feet and reset themselves. This has gone horribly wrong for Hell and his teammates, as 420 now not only have the high ground, but they are in the better position. Oh my goodness, they need to move in closer towards the center. And this is it. From being the team that got screwed over so hard by the zone to winning out this entire game, 420 have made a ridiculous comeback.
That's right, and like you said in the last game, those seconds count, and the seconds wasted from CTG by missing an entire Spitfire clip onto the Pathfinder in front of them definitely cost them that game because they did have winning position, but wasting time on well, missing his shots definitely ended up costing his team the victory because they did have the superior position, and all they had to do towards the end of that game was actually realistically just hold out 420 as his own moved in, but. Manoj going down there towards the end definitely didn't help their case.
Yeah. What's more interesting is the way that Pathfinder over there, I'm not sure what his name was, who that guy was, but the way he was just bunny hopping around and just dodging all the bullets as if he's Keanu Reeves from The Matrix. That was incredible. Like, you don't see that too often.
Yep, he dodged a whole 45 clips from that Spitfire.
Oh.
That is quite a lot.
Exactly.
Quite a lot.
It's not even like it's an R99, right? That gets emptied so quickly. You can somewhat get lucky dodging an R99, or maybe even a flatline for that matter, but a Spitfire. Well, let's take a look at the highlights, because that was just one of the cool moments from this game. There are several more.
As we see here with that unlucky start, with them disconnecting and Team Powerpuff Girls just taking advantage of that, chasing them across the map.
Well,
Goated here taking them out, and now we're moving on to like arguably I think my favorite clip of this game so far. Slick was definitely slick with that bow check shot that we missed out on, unfortunately.
oh no, we saw it, right? I mean, yeah, it didn't show up in the highlight, but for those of you who were here right from the start of the game, you must have seen that sick 86 damage shot from this guy while he was midair, so that was definitely something cool to look at. But as we move towards the end of the game, I start to feel a little bad for CTG more and more. Like, consider the situation, right? They had deadbeats cornered. They had them dead to rights. There is absolutely no way the deadbeats should have survived for as long as they did. CTG should have been able to end them, but somehow the only team who could actually stop deadbeats was Team Goated when they dropped from the top over there. And CTG were like, yeah, sure, you can steal our kills away, but you won't be able to steal our position points. Well, guess what? Those got stolen as well towards the end of the game. But the best part is, the top teams didn't make it into the top 3. That kind of puts the overall scoreboard on a more equal level and makes Game 3 even more exciting.
Yep, and here we see it, the entire Spitfire clip loading in, and he managed to pull off a bat at the same time as well, which actually...
Yeah.
Which that proves quite big for his team because he gets 2 extra points just for that.
Yeah. Imagine popping off a bat while standing in the water, having no cover. You managed to survive long.
Spitfire clip loaded into.
Exactly. While having that massive LMG just showing away at you, and you managed to survive long enough to get your team extra placement points. Completely screwing over Team CTG, who just dropped the ball over there.
Yep, CTG actually played that quite perfectly until the end. They played the entire game to a T. They had the best spot in the game, which they stayed in for about 2 to 3 zones, but they had the opportunity to take out deadbeats, which was a possibility for KP, which they missed out on because Team Goated ended up moving up and stealing those kills. And so to say on Team Goated as well, it was a bit disappointing end to that game for them because they did end up leaving that high ground for the kill points. They got a bit greedy, and they definitely paid the price for that towards the end of the game.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get a bit too greedy. And we were questioning, right? I mean, right from the start of the game, we've been seeing Team Goated sit on top of the tower on Launchpad, and they were just taking pot shots at everyone. They were even getting knocks, but then we discussed, will they send it? Will they go in to confirm those knocks? Will they try to leave their position in hopes of eliminating an entire team? Or are they going to be patient about it and play for the placements over here? Play for just having the better zone control? While they did play conservatively towards the start of the game, in the end, they just got a little greedy onto Team Deadbeats. And sure, while they got those KPs, it could have been better for them. But then again, you consider yourself to be a goated player. You put yourself in their shoes. You have absolutely nothing to worry about. You were able to win the first game. Just go ahead and knock out the deadlier teams, Team Deadbeats as well, right? They also, I think, finished in the top 3 last time. You push onto Team Deadbeats, you make sure they don't get into the top 5, you ruin their chances of getting into the next stage, and that's one less team that you have to worry about in the group stages.
Yeah, but patience is a virtue, my friend.
Hmm.
If we look at it from Deadbeats, not from Deadbeats, from Team Godet's perspective, they originally ended up landing on a spot that the end zone did pull towards, and then they moved on towards the hill. Then most people would have thought that they would have stayed on the hill and then kept out teams instead of pushing on teams, but then they went on to push down. So a bit of hasty decision making towards the end of them might have cost them a bit, and the lack of patience, especially like if you do back yourself mechanically, you also have to keep in mind other variables and other factors that go on in an end game situation. Especially if you want to pick up more kills, it's actually more advantageous on picking up a good spot and holding it down, where on the edge, especially where people are going to move in, because end games do get very hectic, right? And that's an excellent opportunity to pick up kill points during end game. So definitely IGL's positioning their teams aggressively instead of having to leave a spot and push down would be more beneficial to them.
Yeah. But then again, Team Goated, given that they were inside the top 5 this time as well, and they had a decent amount of KP, I think they should still be on the top of the scoreboard, because there was like at least a 7 to 8 point gap between them and the second place team. So I think they can still retain the lead and be the #1 team on the standings. Speaking of which, let's move on to the standings and see, is there anything new to speak about? Have any teams moved into the top 5?
Well,
Has there
it looks
been any
like
changes? Yeah, definitely.
Godet's been dethroned.
Oh, and by a lot too.
By a lot. 420 is coming in with a 20-point game. I believe they had 5 points before the start of this game, so they had a huge 20-point game. That's what we said. One game can change everything in a 3-game series, and 420 proving that, rising up from underperforming in game 1.
Yeah, but keep in mind that these are just the standings of match 2, not the overall standings. So while 420 able to get 25 points in this particular match, I do believe that Team Goated got something around 21 points in the previous game. So you add that to the 12 they got now. Is that going to be enough for 420 to overthrow them?
Well, it might not be enough, but it'll definitely be enough for them to have a strong hold on their qualifying spot, which is all you need is top 5 for that. And as we see, CTG has moved in to the top 5 here. They might move into the top 5 here with the 8 points they got in this game, but Powerpuff Girls will most probably move ahead of Warriors World, who they were tied with. Now they're having a 9-point advantage over that, as we might head into the overall scoreboard later on in the series.
I'm starting to feel a little bad for Team Deadbeats. While they did make it to quite a high placement position, it didn't get enough points out of it. And I thought that, yeah, sure, getting inside the top 5, top 6 will help you get enough, but it just simply was not. And they didn't even get all that many kill points, barely 3. A 6-point a game, especially when you had to go through so much, just seems kind of disappointing. And the scoreboard is just so skewed. The first 2 teams have 25 and 19 points, where, you know, they are quite ahead of everyone else. But then after that, the difference in points between the teams boils down to just 2 or 3 points at max. So those are the teams who can still, you know, go up or down on the scoreboard with the last game still yet to be played out. This battle for top 5 is going to be super, super sweaty.
Definitely. All right. We're now going to be heading into a break. We will see you on the other side so you can rest, reset along with our players.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Rise of Legion Apex Legends Tournament, powered by Intel and Lenovo. My name is Cribs. With me is Ultimate Noob, and you are witnessing the SA qualifiers today. There's going to be 3 maps, out of which 2 are already done with, and now the last game remains. Keep in mind that the teams who are in the top 5 today will get to play in the group stages as well. Now, there are certain teams like Team Goated and Team 420 who've already secured a good amount of points, so it's almost guaranteed that they'll make it to the next stage. But the last 3 spots are still up for grabs.
Yep, that's right. And especially with the top 5 teams dying out pretty early in the last game, it's going to give a quite even distribution of points throughout the top 10 going into this last game, giving quite a few teams that hope of qualifying. So we might not see that much of a well, let's just go on and push everyone without thinking about consequences kind of game 3. We might see a slightly smarter game 3 and maybe a more passively played game 3 from everyone who's from, well, 4th place to around 17th place, because the top 3 teams at this point have pretty much solidified their spot in the top 5 with the amount of points they've managed to amass.
Hold on. I mean, I mentioned the top 2 were solidified. Do you think the third team also has enough to keep themselves sustained?
Potentially, if they manage to have a consistent top 5 game going into game 3, they would definitely seal that off. But
Alright.
If say a bottom 10 team decides to show up and end up winning game 3 here, it might upset the scales quite a bit and just turn it in their favor. We saw something like this happen at LAN in Sweden last month. There was a Brazilian team that was last place in the semifinal, going into game 5 or game 6, and they ended up winning the game with quite a few points, and they toppled everyone ahead of them in the lobby, and they ended up qualifying for the final. So we might see something similar today here, hopefully, but we're curious to find that out as game 3 begins.
Yeah, a really good rags to riches story. That would be the perfect cherry on top of the cake to send ahead into the next stage, right? And once that nice cherry topped cake arrives and joins the other cakes that have arrived from the other qualifiers, it's gonna be like a nice sweet buffet, which will probably end up giving you diabetes and a serious case of wanting to play the game right the hell now. Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna fire up Apex right after this cast is over, and I'm gonna play a little as well, because these guys have been making such crazy moves, and even I want to get my hands dirty a little now. And those crazy moves, you saw that last clip towards the end, right? Where the guy's just dodging those Spitfire bullets left, right, center. There were some really slick bow check shots as well, especially by the guy named Slick. So, yeah, all this kind of stuff, this kind of wants... It makes me want to play the game. Mind my grammar over there. But, yeah. This tournament is getting more and more intense. And this is just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. Keep in mind that today is qualifier number 1. And that is it. Tomorrow, we're going to have qualifiers 2 and 3. Then after that, we have the group stage for a couple of days, which will, be graced with the presence of all these invited teams who have competed at the highest levels. And then last but not the least, we're going to have the finals, which start on the 22nd of this month. So for the next few days, I would recommend you guys to just stock up on your popcorn so that you don't run out, right? It would suck to go run out to the store, grab some popcorn in the middle of games, and come back before the next one starts. Just keep it stocked for the next few days. You're going to need it. Trust me.
Definitely. But, well, since we're all Indian, we usually have like a ton of snacks just sitting around in our house. I definitely have some on the side here, as every time we go and take a break, and these breaks are quite lengthy. I've seen Crips take like a bathroom break around 3 to 4 times here, relentlessly chugging down on his Mountain Dew.
It's just water, unfortunately. I don't have anything sugary. But yeah, speaking of sugar and spice and everything nice, we are about to jump into game number 3, and let's see if the Powerpuff Girls can bring out the Chemical X this time again. And keep in mind that this is the second time we are seeing World's Edge, so maybe the teams will keep in mind the positions of someone else from the previous game and avoid early game fights, or maybe like deliberately screw over someone else by hot dropping them.
Real quick, I think we might want to head over to Fragment right now, because we do have 4 teams contesting Frag East-West. So they're definitely going to be lighting it up at the start of this game. We have Attaboy's team, who did perform that miraculous escape in game 1. hoping to pick up a few kill points at the start of this game.
Oh, Team Hyper. They were on the receiving end of some brutal punishment in the last time we saw them in World's Edge. They were one of the first teams to get eliminated over here at the hands of Pop-Up Girls. But over here, being Chilling, the guy who lost his life in Storm Point by overextending, needs to make sure he doesn't do the same mistake again, as Fragment is just so easy to get lost in and lose track of your enemies too, because you might be focusing on one team at a particular time, meanwhile somebody else just walks up behind you. And given the way the audio works in this game, it is not going to be a surprise if someone gets beamed down without even realizing where they're getting shot from.
Definitely, and early game, keeping your fights extremely clean is extremely important, because you do not want to get third-partied by teams that have landed near you. And in the case of Fragment, there's like about 4 teams there. They move on to 3 right now, with OP skills here engaging in an early game fight.
OP skills, almost all of them are cracked except for Black Wolf, but let's see if they can reset quickly enough to go ahead and fight their nemesis once again. A brief moment of disengagement which can be utilized by both teams. The scan reveals that they're not anywhere close. OP skills can continue healing, although I do believe that the other team has lost their edge. Will they try to go for a long flank because they have split up? They know for the fact that there's one player isolated, the other one towards the right-hand side. Now, who do they focus on first? They have limited amount of information. How do they choose to exercise the next step?
Well, one thing they've got to keep in mind is that there's also a team that lands right next to them that they do not want to stretch this fight out for way too long, because that team's going to move up from behind them and possibly third party. So they do not want to stretch this fight on for longer than it should be. And I think Black Wolf has realized that and has decided to move on out here, because they definitely need to prioritize that rotation.
Oh, rotation is indeed a priority, but there's still 40 seconds left, and it's just ring 1, so maybe they can continue tanking the zone damage and fight this one. Unless one of the teams does indeed decide to disengage completely, it does seem like this battle is going to be stretched out for a lot longer. Pop-Up Girls. Now, keep in mind that this is deja vu. The last time Pop-Up Girls, they did not land in Thermal Station, they landed in an area close to it, and they went to get the kills onto Team Hyper, and once again, they've got them in the crosshairs. They can spot every single one just replicating away, crafting some stuff. And when did they decide to take the shot? They all beam down the seer first, and that's who they focus on. Grim bites the dust almost instantly. There were several angles onto him too, so there's no way he can run away back to safety.
Definitely, Powerpuff Girls there, catching them off guard, catching Hyper off guard again for the second time. So we move on out to the Wonder World here.
Yeah, meanwhile, Pop-Up Girls, while they're still fighting in Thermal Station, Wonderworld, they've started fighting towards Village outside of Fragment, but one fight at a time. We're going to be first looking at Team Pop-Up Girls, and they've picked up another knock as well. Zenelius, he's also trying to keep up with the action, but it seems like Pop-Up Girls have more problems inbound. Another team just dropped onto top of them, and they realize, yep, this is our cue to get the hell out of here. Just let the other two guys duke it out and let Team Hyper fight the dust.
Yep. Knowing when to engage and when to disengage is an extremely important ability to have, especially when you're an IGL in Apex Legends. As we move on to Warriors World here, engaging outside the tunnel, outside Frag East.
At Warriors World, keep in mind that this is also one of the teams who were doing really, really well in the previous games. So if they can just keep themselves alive, they should have enough to get themselves into the top 5. They do need a couple of kills though. Pop-Up Girls, so they've got plenty of points and plenty of opportunities too, because they've already got a couple of kills on the Team Viper, and they are on the verge of finishing off Blunder as well. May be able to do it! Blunder goes down, more to follow. They did see another team drop onto this region. They don't know who exactly that team is, but they should have a fair idea after this one.
This has been an extremely strange rotation from Deadbeats here. The spot is not even in the zone, and they decided to land on top of Powerpuff Girls. And on top of that, their Wraith has slipped and fallen down into the hands of Powerpuff Girls, giving them a free kill point. And now they're just down to a duo there, sitting on top of Thermal.
Meanwhile, another Wraith potentially in danger. Team Goated, while they do have enough time to let Sapsy reset, Will they get any breathing room? Pop-up girls go on top. Slick, being slick enough to knock one person down, but Viodrola with the backup instantly comes through. He should be able to revive his teammate and finish off any stragglers, but one of the enemies has escaped. Now, will they go for the chase, or like you said, they'll just focus on rotation first?
No, I think there's no way out for him right now, so they're most probably going to go and finish him off because he's in the way of their rotation as well, so they have to move in that general direction.
Yeah, might as well just start moving right now. Now, they do have the Valkyries available, so if they want to just hurry up, they can send it completely. Maybe even catch the other guy before he makes it into the ring. But for now, it's Team Goated fighting towards Countdown. And the car is just beaming Rhea down. Sapsy has a nice safe spot for himself where he can continue healing up. Meanwhile, the other team clearly at a disadvantage right now, looking for an opportunity to break through the stranglehold as they have managed to triangulate the positions as well. No throwable ordnance available, so they have to move in just on their feet. But the beams are holding Team Goated back. The flank from Sapsy. It's perfect. It not only cracked, but also disorients them, forcing them to abandon cover, moving them into the way of danger as Shiva goes in for the full 10. He knows he can thirst them. He can finish them off right now, but he got a bit greedy. Luckily, he doesn't get thirsted in return. And this is another fight that Team Goated will take for themselves.
Yep, Team Goated at this point can pretty much go on autopilot mode because I think they pretty much secured qualification for the next round with their consistent placement and kill points. So not really much to worry about for them as we move on to Frag West right now. As we see Calyx, you see him along with DI Yash here, trying to settle this apartment, more like an apartment scandal here. Like when your neighbors try killing you. Ever experienced that, Chris? Neighbors ever try to kill you?
Nah, and I hope I never have to face that too. I live in a relatively crime-free neighborhood, buddy, so not experience any fights with my neighbors. But yeah, in Apex I've had some very pesky neighbors, especially in this construction building on Fragments. I don't know why everyone wants to hot drop over here, but hey, once you've got control of the building, it's a damn nice place to hold. Especially when you have a caustic, you've got all the zip lines just gassed up. That should shut down plenty of avenues of entry for your enemies. Meanwhile, Team 420 just outside of No Name Village, looking to make their way into the main city of Fragment East. But my main concern over here is we saw 4 teams just outside of Fragment, right? Surely maybe 1 or 2 of them have died, and even Team Phoenix is in a little bit of trouble. Getting pot-shotted from all around, but still, they haven't left this roof. Just waiting for the other team to send it onto them. They will have to leave this in the next 1.5 minutes, though.
Yep, and you don't want this fight to stretch out for too long, but I feel like it's vital for them to clean up to make up their minds, basically, like whether they want to continue taking this fight. But it's a duo on the bottom, so they might want to hurry up and just and clear them out before.
Do they know it's a duo, though?
I'm pretty sure they do because they're the ones who wiped out their teammate.
Oh yeah, okay, then that makes sense. We've missed out them killing Scarecrow over there. That's probably why I realized, but the banner was recovered. Fancy footwork and wing work by Calyx over there as he managed to grab the banner off Scarecrow there, Gibby. But where do they go for the rest? There is a beacon right on top, but I don't think that's possible. I don't think they can access this one. They don't have a
Definitely not possible, but looks like they're gonna look for a spot to get their buddy back in the game. They're gonna go on and foul calls out here. Hopefully to a point of safety.
Hopefully. I mean, they don't know what lies ahead, and given that there are so many teams inside Fragment, they might run into another team or two. Now, they head over towards this station.
Well, we did see a team holding station building earlier on in this game. For the sake of this team, we hope that they're not there anymore so they can get their res off and get back to being a full 3-stack. But DI Yash's team, Yash's team, would definitely want to head on and rotate out right now because ring is definitely closing in and they don't want to miss out on a spot because it looks like it might pull towards being another skyhook zone.
And as the circle keeps pulling more and more towards the north, all the teams who are looking to come in through landslide will have to clash with others as well. Here comes the ultimate from Bloodhound, from Iron Man. will he be able to unleash the entire firepower of the Stark Industry arsenal? There are bombs raining from the sky, so he can be considered as a person who rains down death and destruction from above. But the people who he's up against, they're already focused on getting out of here. And sure, they might lose their shields, but they are not going to lose their lives as they manage to make their way into countdown to safety.
Well, it depends. Well, they have a OP Skills has a choice of 2 rotation points to go through at this point. They can either pick pushing through Fissure, through Lava Siphon, which we already have Team Goated holding out, as we saw earlier in the game, or they could go through a risky tunnel play, or they could just opt to Valk. But once again, you don't know who's holding out. Skyhook on the other end of that side.
Oh, so much damage, but somehow Relentless Esports, they're just relentless in their pursuit of safety. They find a nice spot, they don't get challenged again, and it seems like they got away scot-free. Nobody chasing them.
Yep, Relentless Esports have managed to get their third back in the game as we move on out to this fight outside.
Man needs to channel his inner Marvel power. He's already lost his teammate. Can they bring back the game from this deficit? It seems like Black Wolf is the only one left. He doesn't even have any phase out available. So the best that he can do is pop the shield bat as they swarm up on him, and he's not gonna be destined for this world for much longer. Pop-up goal. They get a few more kills in their pocket, just lining up the scoreboard with their kill feed.
Yep, and it looks like Powerpuff Girls might be cruising towards qualification for the final. They might be up there in the top 3, possibly, with the amount of kills that they've gotten towards the end of this qualifying series today.
Yeah, so Powerpuff Girls looking pretty strong over here as they have managed to clear out this entire western, I'm sorry, not western, yeah, it is the western part. I'm sorry, my geography is a little bad. The western part of downtown, and they've got this area available for themselves. They spotted a team coming in from the chokehold that connects this region to Fragment, but they don't need to fight that one. They can always keep going deeper into Countdown, but they need to be careful. There is a team already waiting for them over there, so let's see if they can find any safe spot.
Right, but keep in mind, if they do get into a bit of a sticky situation, they still have Valkyrie to crush up on their rotation.
Yeah.
Relentless Esports here, finding a nice comfy corner to stay in for the next 30 seconds at least until they have to move to the zone. Scarecrow here, still on white shields, definitely gonna be a bit of a problem here, but if they do find this rat that's potentially in the corner, it's not a rat, it's actually a full team holding out this corner. Surprisingly gets a good stick on him, Calyx.
Jesus, no, that's the kind of stuff that is gonna keep you awake at night. It's gonna give you nightmares, and they finish him off as well. The legend Harry. He's gonna have a hairy death in this situation as Scarecrow sticks him down.
Ooh, Gaming Cat getting a good shot off on Calyx to go there, take him down. But will they push? Will they leave their building to push this?
I don't know if they've got time to go for the revive. The zone's kind of pressuring them right now, and they don't have enough power to keep moving in. Scarecrow and Press, they've been forced to go away from each other. They used the
potentially fatal decision here from Krez, because Zone 3 is not something that you can definitely revive a teammate in unless you have heat shields, which are not allowed in competitive gaming, so they does not have that option.
Yeah. And you can even see that he tried to go in for a save maneuver over here using the Ashel, trying to stick the res onto Calyx, but it ended up backfiring and he lost his life, dude. And now Scarecrow ran into another team right here. There's no way he can survive this one. They're gonna realize that he's alone over here. The best hope that Scarecrow has right now is that they stay on top instead of hunting him downstairs, because if they do come down, they're gonna face potentially another team. Bird hunting. Shiva. This is something that Peter will not be cool with.
Yep, rather awkward ending zone here towards the end of this game. They're just pulling between Skyhook. It's more towards the edge here. So Skyhook's not really going to be an ideal position to hold towards the end of this game, and it depends on whether Team Goated does realize that and decide to push on up and out of here. As we close the game with just 5 teams left towards round 4, which is, I think, the lowest count of teams we've had so far.
Yeah, this is one of those less crowded circles. Let's see how this one pans out. Looking to other team who have the option of escaping via the tunnel over there, but that might be a very lengthy rotation. I don't think they have the time available for that one, and ATHXVY doesn't even have any HP left to make those maneuvers. Pop-up girls, sure, they hunt down a rat, but given the amount of kill points that Beamlord Bugatti has all by himself, they've got enough. 6 kills on Beamlord, Weirdolo has 4, Slick has 3. Do the math, they've got plenty of points, and plus they're in the top 5, so definitely Pop-up girls are on a roll.
Well, I'm glad you did the math there for me, because I just couldn't be asked to compute how many kills they have. As they move on now to occupy spot in ring, as the team Goated have also moved on.
Providing a blanket of security, but this blanket will be ripped away as the strike outside is forcing them to go off. Oh, but he doesn't even allow him to escape. Sloppy shot off mid-air, and end of days just on a roll. He's ending everyone else's lives. Do they have enough time to go for the reset though? They're already getting shot by missiles from some other Valkyrie who they do not have a line of sight onto just yet. But as they realize that Slick could be a person who gives them a little bit more real estate, they move on to him. It's Team Coded who's now trying to knock on the doors of Pop-up Girls building.
Right, and now we see Team Powerpuff Girls definitely have the strongest spot on the map right now. Team Goated here have occupied a small stretch of land and real estate here that they can just chill in for the remainder of this game. But it's going to be a bit of a struggle to hold. But with teams moving in from Skyhook especially, they have to definitely watch their back here for not getting shot from behind.
Interesting move by Sapsi. Kind of feel like it didn't. I kind of feel like it didn't need to do that there, but of course you want to preserve shields towards the end of the game. Even though you have a Loba, it just pays off to not waste all your resources right at the beginning. Plus, now he's trying to scout out the other side of this rock. He's separating from his team, going to the other side.
I believe he spotted a team moving in from Skyhook right now, but they've decided to oob, and it looks like it's Team 420 there, who's a duo, who's gonna occupy the last remaining spot here that's left in the zone.
Unlike the last game where all the top teams were eliminated right at the beginning, this is a clash of the titans of sorts. It's Pop-up Girls versus 420 versus Team Goated. All these teams have enough points to qualify already.
Yep, the rest of the lobby is just going to be hoping and praying that they've got enough kill points on the board, because I'm pretty sure we can guarantee that the teams in the final circle right now have all qualified for the semifinals, which will be coming up in a couple of days.
Alright then, Team Goated, let's see if they can actually go for a back-to-back win over here. Already secured the first World's Edge win. Will they be able to get the second one as well? Pop-up Girls, they've been denied a win so many times. They're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. As they get into top positions almost every time, but never are able to secure it. Okay, so because these guys are just taking pot shots at each other, and for the next 30 seconds, I don't think anyone's going to send it. Who do you think has the best position right now, and what are the win conditions for them? Real quick.
For sure, I think it's Powerpuff Girls, because they have the most cover and they have the most real estate to occupy. Now that Goated has just given up on high ground, it's going to be a bit tough for them. There's not going to be anyone focusing on 420 either besides Powerpuff Girls, so it's going to be a pretty lackluster one minute and a half until the next ring starts pushing out teams, because I think the most proactive action is going to be taken by 420 as this end ring closes, because they're the only ones who have no cover to move in as this ring closes in, because Powerpuff Girls already have a line of sight on them as they're moving in. And they're going to have to either occupy more space and try to grief Team Coded, and Powerpuff Girls can just chill there while they wait for the action to take hold, because Team Goated have made a little bit of a misplay potentially, because the zone might be pulling up here and they would have to move up, putting them in the line of sight and in between both Powerpuff Girls and 420.
Oh, a move that keeps them safe for the first minute over here, as nobody has a line of sight on them, but then as they try to move up, this could be troublesome for them. The best case scenario over here for Team Goated would be if Pop-up Girls and Team 420 end up fighting each other before they even have the time to move up.
Yep. But the problem is, Craze, that they can't, because they don't have a character to bring them up there unless they take that zip line, which means they'll be right in line of sight, which would put 420 in the best spot to win this game right now.
Yeah, but let's see if they can actually turn this spot into a victory. Starting to run out of resources. There's plenty of cells available, but ordnance, not all that much. Everyone's just conserving all the nades possible, especially Pop-Up Girls, because they know they've got 420 cornered. While 420 might have a decent position for now, they need to move a little closer towards the center of the circle, a spot which Pop-Up Girls holds dominion over. As the thermite grenades try to flush the enemies out of cover, 420 are just trying to delay this push for as long as possible. They just want to make sure Pop-Up Girls split up too much and one of them ends up overextending. That would be the best case scenario for them.
Well, I think what we're going to have here is just Team Goated being a non-factor as this game goes on, because they've refused to go up and take that zipline, which is now out of zone. And Powerpuff Girls, all they have to do now is it's a waiting game at this point. They just stay there and just hold that position on the ring, because the only person that can come up from Team Goated is their Loba. They have no verticality on their team at all.
Let's see if the Loba can play spots, but Pop-Up Girls, they are spoiling the amount of HP that their opponents have right now. They're the ones who are doing more damage. The crack comes through, but Rolo gets out of trouble just in the nick of time. And Team Goated actually out this one as the fights have now broken out. Goated now trying to go upstairs. They managed to find a way, and this fight is a little chaotic, especially for Team Pop-Up Girls to fight the dust. But will there be enough time for Goated to capitalize on this finish off? Will this 2v3 fight turn into their favor? The beams are definitely there, but violence and carnage inflicted will result in only one victor,
And
it is in Goated.
Team Goated ends up winning that game. There is absolutely no way that Team 420 and Powerpuff Girls somehow just ignored them and just let them come up there for free. Somehow didn't get focused at all.
Yeah.
That is an extremely surprising win and a surprising comeback from Team Goated, who seemed to have, well, pretty much lost the game from that position, but somehow miraculously ended up taking that win. I think we're all surprised by that quite a bit, but yeah, well done to them. Kudos.
Yeah. And in order to get up there, they must have still tanked a little bit of zone damage to use that zipline, right? I mean, there's no other way they can get up there. So I kind of want to see what was going on in their mind. I wish I got to see the game from their perspective, because timing it and tanking that zone damage, still moving upstairs, and while the other two teams are fighting, you get enough time to pop a bat or two. Now, that is something I never expected to happen. And Goated didn't even have all the members alive. They lost one towards the start of that fight, but they still were able to convert the 2v3 into a win. Now, if that's not amazing, I don't know what is. Team Goated win both the World's Edge games of the day.
Yep, and I think we can safely say that Team Goated is also going to end the qualifier series as the top leaders of this group, with 420 possibly heading on behind them in second place, because they did finish with a win in the last game. But Powerpuff Girls might hang in there for a top 2 position because of how many kill points they did have going into this end zone. But it also was a few mistakes on the end of Powerpuff Girls towards the end of this game, not letting what's his name, Goated any time. They just they kind of ignored Team Goated, and they paid the price for it.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you blink an eye for a bit too long. When you let the opponent leave your line of sight for more than a minute, you lose track of them, and that's how you lose the game. But I love this. I mean, imagine that Seer, right? He starts getting shot from both the directions at the same time. They both coordinate, right? They both probably would have had some comms like, yeah, 3, 2, 1, we fire now. And before he even had a chance to react, he's down and out.
Yep, and I feel like that play right there might have cost Deadbeats their entire qualification, because they ended up throwing getting their team out like really early on with no points.
Yeah. And Deadbeats were the one who third-partied towards Thermal Station, right? They were the ones who dropped in.
They were the ones third-partying Thermal Station, and they just miscommunicated that horribly.
Yeah, they were the ones who ended up dying first. Imagine trying to go for the third party, but becoming the first kill indeed. Team Goated though, it's ridiculous how he's able to track so well with the charge rifle up close and personal. Just bird hunting that Valkyrie over there.
And as we go here, we have some POVs from the end game right here. Team Goated moving on and cleaning up this team as well as we went towards the end game, and well, ripping off that miraculous comeback as they did. As we can see right here, coming back with 2 members being on extremely low HP, and even a down as well in a 2v3 at the end.
I still kind of want to see what Team Goated might have had to go through, especially when they were trying to climb back upstairs. That would have been such a butt-clenching moment for them. It would have been so stressful, but they are able to survive all that stress, all that heat, and the damage from their opponent's bullets and triumph on top. Now, that is indeed a goated team. They're just living up to their name again and again.
Yep, it definitely was a good Wraith play because the only way you can pull that off is with a Wraith. So what she did was basically use her phase ability as she went up in zone, tanked it a bit, made the portal for her teammate to come back up and giving them the window of opportunity. It's definitely great, quick thinking on their feet.
Can you do the portal on the zip lines?
No, she phased while going up the zip line, and when she was up there, she made a portal for her team.
Oh yeah, and then you drop down the portal.
Right.
Yeah, that could also be a great move. You go up via just avoiding damage, and you drop down with the portal. Yeah, that's a cool move. Yeah.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what they ended up doing as well.
So yeah,
And
they didn't have to tank all that much zone damage, and they are healthy enough to start fighting the moment they get out of that portal.
Yep, quick thinking definitely saved Team Goated there from what was looking like a guaranteed third place for them in that game, but somehow miraculously ended up winning that from what was like one of the weaker positions in that zone. Team Powerpuff Girls definitely would be a bit salty about the end of that game because of how it ended from them having the best position and then for them finishing worst off from all three teams towards the end of that game.
And that's a position that you would definitely not want to be in. It just hurts so much to be like that. We saw something similar in Stormpoint as well, right? Where I believe it was Team CTG who had a damn good position, and then they ended up losing out all the advantage that they had. Team 420 was the one who had like probably the worst position of them all in game number 2 because both CTG and Epsilon had lines upside onto them. But 420 was like, screw it, let's just send it on to onto Team Epsilon. Let's take their position instead, and then we can deal with CTG later on.
Right, because it's so important to A, stay focused, and B, just be precise with your decisions and just not move about, just changing your mind all the time when it comes to Apex, especially towards end games and planning your rotations. As we saw there, like the last two games, there were mistakes from the teams that had power position, which ended up losing from a very obvious winning spot, and especially giving teams who had a weaker spot the opportunity of getting their teams back in it.
Yeah. I mean, I think Apex is like one of the only games where having the low ground doesn't turn into an instant death sentence for you. Like, I've seen so many times, right? In a lot of other Battle Royale games, if you're the one who is stuck down on the low ground, everyone else can just instantly beam you down if you're on the low ground. But then in a game like Apex, and this is the only VR that I've seen this in, where if you're on the low ground, the other teams can't shoot at you without getting shot at by someone else. And that concept keeps so many teams alive.
Yep, that's the beauty of Apex. The variety of legends that can give you the verticality advantage, that can give you that advantage to make a comeback from low ground, definitely helps you quite a bit because the way they maneuver around their abilities and perfecting them as with the more experience they get.
Yeah, and indeed, you gotta consider how much experience Goated have, right? In a sticky situation like that, if they're able to still keep their calm, go into a position which could end up backfiring but still come out on top, now that's the kind of stuff that Legends are made of, and I wouldn't be surprised if Team Goated perform really well in the upcoming group stage as well.
Right, definitely a team to look out for as we move forward throughout the rest of this week. Team Goated, and I think we're about to see quite a few teams like that as well as we move on tomorrow, where we will be having two groups competing for a spot in the semifinals. We will see quite a few teams that we haven't seen before outperforming, and definitely some few staples that we've been used to seeing in Indian tournaments quite a lot. I do not have the list with me right now, but I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing the regulars that we see performing well in Indian tournaments and moving on to a more international stage.
Yeah, let's see if SA can give SEA a run for its money. In the past, a lot of SA teams have struggled against the rest of the APAC region, and they have struggled against the rest of Europe and North Americans. But over the course of the last year, that trend has been changing. The APAC teams are also giving all those well-established North American and European teams a good run for their money. So you know for a fact that Asia is out there. They're upping their game. They're becoming better and better every single day. And that's the point of Rise of Legion. You have to rise in your level.
Yep, definitely. APAC has definitely been changing its perception, especially in Apex. Like for the Sweden line, we had about 3 out of 5 teams that had qualified ended up in the finals, and all the APAC South teams actually managed to qualify for the semifinals, which was the only region to do that at the LAN. So the top teams at APAC definitely having a shift of power here in Apex as an esports, because generally speaking, it's mostly the NA and the EU teams that dominate esports, usually with exceptions of having a few APAC North teams. But APAC South usually ends up being an underdog. But Apex, it's definitely changed, and turntables.
Yeah, and it's the Apex scene, which is kind of like an outlier. I mean, I've been casting for like 5 years, and I've casted several 5v5 tactical games. I've casted several BR games as well, and this is like a trend which has continued across all FPS games in general. It's usually the NA and EU teams who are always on top, and only after the pandemic, only after 2021, have the Asian teams started to really give the other regions a run for their money. So I'm just happy that all teams in the world right now have equal amounts of firepower, and we get to see the best of the East in this tournament, the best of APAC. Now, as we are done for the day, the only thing we're waiting for is for the calculation of the groups to be done so that we can figure out who are the top 5 teams who will be moving on to the group stage. But there are certain teams whose dreams will be crushed, whose journey will come to an end. Tell me, I want to ask you, I want to put you on the spot over here. Tell me one team who you think will not qualify, but they still impressed you.
Who will not qualify but still impressed me? That's an interesting question. I think Deadbeats. I think Deadbeats had a strong start to game 1, but over the course of game 2 and game 3, a bit of questionable decision making might see them fall outside of the top 5, and they're gonna have to hope that their performance from game 1 is enough to carry them through to staying in the top 5 towards the final.
Yeah. Let's see if Deadbeats can actually make this one through. I mean, I kind of feel bad for them because the last 2 games they've been just getting stuck, right? I mean, getting stuck in that rock where Team Godin and Team, I believe, CTG were the ones who were shooting at them in Storm Point, and then a similar situation happened in World's Edge as well, where they just got completely zone screwed. I can't even blame them for their terrible luck, but yeah.
But I feel like the last game when they were on World's Edge, the decision to land on top of Power Pop Girls when that was not even in the zone, that decision cost them the entire tournament. It would definitely seem so. If they don't end up qualifying, that is. If they do end up qualifying, they might want to VOD review and go over a few things so they can, just repair those chinks in the armor that they have, so that they can have a more smooth performance as they move on to the semifinals. If they do move on to the semifinals, that is, they better hope that the game 1 points were more than enough to secure them that spot.
Yeah, let's just hope so. They're just gonna be praying and just biding their time. Hopefully the scoreboard does mercy to them. Speaking of the scoreboard, let's take a look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see the first 5 teams to make it to the group stage of Intel and Lenovo presenting Rise of Legions. It's none other than Team Goated, Pop-Up Girls, 420. Oh no, my bad.
The
This
match
is
3
the overall
standings.
scoreboard. This is just the match 3 standing, so I got a little ahead of myself. I got a little excited.
Well, as you can see here, CTG, who placed 3rd place in the last game, ended up with 4 points this time. Well, it's all going to come down to how they did in game 1, depending on their positioning. Relentless Esports, they didn't have too good of a game 2 there, so I don't know if 6 points will be enough for that. Rather low point game 3 right now, because the top 3 teams are definitely, as we spoke about earlier, they're definitely going to be moving on because of how many points they already had prior to this, and they've just stayed consistent throughout. So it's more about who's had a better game 1 and game 2 that's going to decide who qualifies now.
Yeah, I mean, Cynex had a little bit of showing in this game, but then again, they weren't able to get all that many points. And you can see that there's a stark difference in points between the top 3 teams and everyone else. Like, those guys are up there in double digits. Meanwhile, the other teams, they barely have like 7-8 points. That's a massive amount of point disparity. And the right-hand side of the scoreboard, the bottom 10, they barely get any points.
Yep, it's because the teams of the top 3 have just taken all of the KP. Like they've killed out pretty much 2/4 of the lobby, like 2/3 of the lobby. I mean, Like they've just wiped out everyone, and I think it's because their confidence has grown through the course of today's qualifiers. They started off game one trying to see what the lobby is like, and then they moved on to get a bit more confident with their pushes and be more aggressive as game two and game three went on.
Yeah, and at the end of the game 2 and 3, these are the top 5 teams. Deadbeats has indeed qualified. In fact, they are tied with Team Epsilon. CTG almost made it, but they missed out by a tiny 5-point difference between them and Team Epsilon. Top
Yep.
3 teams, Goated, 420, and Pop-Up Girls. We always knew they're going to make it, but Deadbeats and Epsilon, they inch ahead.
Deadbeats and Epsilon barely making it in, with CTG and Relentless definitely hoping. I hope they don't like break keyboards and stuff over a few misplaced decisions over the course of today. But there's always the next tournament. Rest, relax, reset, go again tomorrow, practice, and then come back for the next tournament. That's all you have to say for them. But when it comes to the rest of the teams, they'll be preparing relentlessly, no pun intended, for the semifinal coming up on Wednesday, I believe, or Monday.
Okay, I have absolutely no concept of the days of the week after the pandemic, so I'm just gonna ignore the Monday, Tuesday call out. I just know for a fact that day after tomorrow, the group stage is gonna start, and on 22nd, the finals are gonna start. What is Monday? What is... I think today's a Saturday. Yeah, it is indeed a Saturday. So I've lost track of the days of the week. I've just been staring at my screen for way too long. So don't be like me, ladies and gentlemen. Go out there and cut some grass every now and then. But for now, these teams who have qualified, they will not be touching grass. They will be touching blasters and celebrating tonight.
Well, they better get back to. Well, never mind. They better get back to getting on their keyboard and mouse or their controllers, and preparing for them, because they don't have that much time to celebrate with the semifinals coming up pretty soon. And I think there's enough time to rest and relax after that's concluded. Well, that's been it for today from both of us. And Crips, it's been a pleasure commentating with you. I'll be seeing you tomorrow as well for the second qualifier.
Likewise, and make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give some love to Intel and Lenovo for hosting this wonderful tournament. And also, last but not the least, make sure you tune in tomorrow as well for qualifiers 2 and 3. We'll see you on the other side.
Bye-bye.
Bye.